Good morning. Do you like our new saying on the wall? Oh, you can't see it. It's backwards.
Well, that's okay. We have to say, is this thing on? Yeah.
Are we on?
Oh, I'm crying a lot today.
Oh my goodness. I'm Farah. I'm Nicole. We gotta do that too.
Yes.
Then,
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to, what's this called?
This is called Funner.
Oh gosh. So there's a story behind that.
We should have been live when we read that.
Yeah. Should we read it right now?
Well, yeah, because it says fun, and it says sometimes funner and sometimes funnest. Webster Dictionary, everyone. Is funner a word?
Funner is not a word. I got in trouble all the time if I said funner. And actually, the teachers would say there's no such word. It's more fun.
Yeah, more fun.
We need James. He would be able to.
I think he would be able to. Yeah.
So we're a little confused about that one. So because the title and our subject is ABA and how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And how to make ABA fun.
Or funnest.
Fun.
Sometimes funnest.
More fun. Fun. Huh?
Sometimes funnest.
Funnest. Fun. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Well, that's not our specialty. So anyway, we want to have fun. That's the whole point of this podcast. And we're looking to kind of just take a, stroll through maybe different age groups, different, through adults. So the littles through the adults and everything in between, and maybe different developmental.
Yeah. How that fun with different.
How that could be different.
Yeah.
Potentially. Yeah. So, okay. So welcome once again. We're really excited about our background. I am. I'm very excited.
I like it.
I like it too.
It's very sunshiny.
It is.
There's some.
Well, there's two sun. Yeah. There's some.
They smile too.
Oh, they do. So anyway, welcome. So, like Nicole said, you're making me laugh because you keep wiping your eyes.
Because when I laugh really hard, I cry. It's just something I do. And they just won't stop today. So.
Okay. Well, she's having fun, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Webster Dictionary defines fun as. Sometimes funner. That's why we're discussing, is that a word? Sometimes funnest. What it's providing entertainment, amusement, or enjoyment. Like a fun party, a fun person to be with. That's the first definition. Or full of fun, pleasant. Have a fun time. So I just looked that up to kind of see what it said. It said a whole bunch of other things too that were more condescending and passive aggressive. I just stuck with this one. So that is the whole point. We've been working a lot on MVC, and one of the needs for me is joy and fun. And so that's kind of how this came up. What's fun? And what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? And so ABA and fun. So that's kind of where this came from. Okay, so how do you want to start, Nicole? What do you think would be a good place?
I would like to talk a little bit about how we make some of our programming and our teaching fun.
I like that.
There's a lot to learn about different games and how motivation plays into games and how we can teach through them. So something like Red Light, Green Light, for example, teaches you to stop, teaches you to follow those directions. It can teach you to distinguish between the different colors if you use it that way. It also teaches you to work on that social interaction. Some joint attention is there. Following your peers. So you see that person stop and you stop kind of thing, or you see that person go and you go. It can work on different speed. It can work on the sportsmanship, because there is a winner, right? Someone gets to the end. It can work on communication because you're communicating like the stop and the go, or the slow down or whatever. So looking at I like to look at games and like how much that can teach us, because it can be something where look at all those skills we taught, and we're playing a fun game and the kids are laughing and we're laughing, and that's what's important to me. Is like that's how I kind of define joy, is maybe through laughter.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is when you play the game, it's not just for, okay, this is the rule, this is what you do. It's actually the engagement and the joint attention and the, highlighting your facial, the nonverbal. That's how I look at it. That's really the fun is, I believe it's not like 90% of all communication is nonverbal. And so then you have to highlight your face, your body language, all of the things that you don't say. Like, there is many ways to show joy. And if there's a lot of nonverbal ways, or a large percentage of nonverbal ways, then that's what I would love to focus on is, yes, there's the skill of the game to focus on, and that's great. And we do want to focus on those things and also have fun and joy. I think that's the biggest thing. And that's like that relationship development and that connection. So that's what my advice would be is, are you having fun? Are they having fun? If you're bored or frustrated, many times your partner, which is the client or whoever your partner or group is, and sometimes not, because the client might like something different than you, and their definition, not that they're going to define it to you per se, but some could define it, but many can't. So then it's, again, the nonverbal of, are they enjoying? And I think that's the important part of that. And that's where I want to get to the core of fun. And I have some feedback from mentors. Do you want me to go over some of that? Because that kind of highlights that. So for the mentors, what I did is I just asked them, how do you make your sessions fun? And it was interesting because it was hard for them to really think about like, fun. Like, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, what's fun to you? And what I was looking for, fun to me, for me, is when I see other people having fun. That's fun to me. It makes me giggle. It brings me joy. That's like my need of like, look at that. Everybody's having a good time. Like, I'm like the person that's like, oh man, this is just so fun. If I'm having fun and nobody else is having fun, then it dies. It doesn't maintain itself, or it doesn't build. So that's how I look at it from a standpoint of clients. So you may have a client that is having fun, or learner that's having fun because they're in some repetitive behavior, and that's fun to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might drive you nuts. That might not be fun to you. So you've got to really pay attention. So what one of the mentors said is just that, is you really have to pay attention to what the client enjoys, what's fun to who you're working with, who you're playing with. And that is different for everybody. I think we can go into age in a second too, and then follow their lead and then jump in. And that's where you try to shape.
I think that's why teaching play is so hard. Because it's, you're looking at the motivation of the learner, and they might, when you make that connection with them, like I might not be able to teach you how to have fun with one of my clients if they may only engage in that with me. Like, it's always fun. Like, some clients, for example, like, okay, I walk into a room and this client starts laughing because I always play chase with them. But if another staff were to play chase, they would look at them like, what are you doing? But if that staff member came in and, I don't know, did like rock, paper, scissors or something, or they like a fist pump, like, they would love that.
Right.
But if I did that, they wouldn't like that. So it's like finding your own connection, which with like each client is important because that might be different. And sometimes it's not like transferable to the other person.
Well, unless they're together and they do it. And sometimes
Unless
it works
there's
and
a
sometimes
pairing.
it doesn't.
Yeah,
there's-
we know there's a pairing and shaping process, right? Like we get that as like behavior analysts, but yeah, sometimes that's not.
it is hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message that I got from the mentors is, and why it was hard, because they're like, huh.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I started very vague because I wanted to see what they came up with and what their kind of thoughts of like how they, because it really is like, okay, so what do I'm like, go through your day. You walk in, you're with so-and-so, what do you do? And it was interesting because one mentor said to me, and this is the clinical side of me going, okay, let me explain it first. So she said, I walk in and the routine is not fun for me. So immediately that's where I went to like, okay, but who's the kid? Well, did you just ruin their day? Because that routine,
not fun,
yeah, but it could be very fun for your kid.
Mhm.
It might not be. I don't know who she's talking about. And so that immediately made me start to think. And she was like, so I change our routine all the time. And this is a mentor, I've been with this for years. So I trust that she's talking about a kid that probably is motivated by that and loves the change. But somebody knew if I were to say, okay, change the routine to make it fun. Oh, I might have just created complete havoc, and so that's where I think it's hard because she said that. And I'm thinking, oh, for somebody new coming in that is trying to make it more black and white, that could be detrimental to taking the schedule and changing that up. But for that particular client, it could be beautiful, and that might be great.
And what does changing the routine mean? Because there's one thing about changing like the schedule, like, okay, we're gonna, instead of doing art, we're doing reading now, whatever it is, right? Versus, okay, it's social group, and every social group we have a different activity or something, because that could be defined as changing the routine as well.
Yeah, I don't know. She didn't go into huge detail. She just said it's not motivating, it's not fun to do X, Y, and Z. So we change it all up. I knew this particular person's in the school. So I think also, and another mentor said this too, instead of going down, if they're one-on-one and they're walking somewhere, we change up how we walk, maybe the way we go, because it's more fun, and we look around and we pretend like there's monsters and things like that. But if, let's say, you're in a school situation, you can't do that because the teachers want you to walk in the line potentially. So you got to know kind of what, I don't want to say the rules, but you got to know where your boundaries are. But that is a way. So that was another suggestion, is when you're walking somewhere or going across the room or whatever, go fast, go slow, make it just silly, and I think that gets into more of like the littles. That's what I picture that more of making it silly, fun, more physical. So yeah, it really is. I think this was a big struggle to really come up with specific things. There's only one person that was very clear and very intentional, and like, I can tell you exactly what fun is. I can tell you at every level, I can tell you at every age. And I was like, interesting. I would love to know and go sit in on you and see if that's like your strongest point, because you would get that right. I don't know. So yeah, do you have anything to say about those kind of things as far as, do you want to go into age, or where do you want to go with that? What would be helpful?
I have a thought.
Okay, tell me your thought.
That like when you said what is fun and you posed that question, my brain went immediately to like back in the day when I would do in-home, and I had a trunk full of like what I thought was fun, right? So I had like a bag of fun.
Yeah.
That's where my brain went to, which now was so long ago. But like I look at that as like that was my fun to see what the bag brought to others. I also at the same time would get a little frustrated, not gonna lie, about like if my bag of fun
You're like,
wasn't
this is fun.
like I'm like, come on.
Have
Like,
fun.
I have 20 things in here. And it's also like what you do with like the items too.
It is. Yeah.
So you could have all these items, but what you do with them is different with like each individual. But that's how I like when you ask that, that's just what I've been thinking of. And
I mean, I think that it makes it more structured for us.
yeah,
have
to like look
something.
at it like that.
And
yeah,
it's
I don't know
tangible.
why I was, yeah.
Because I would say, when you say back in the day, that is especially in home. I don't know why. Maybe because we have everything here, it's different. But
yeah.
I would definitely say that was very standard.
Mm-hmm.
Where you did have like things you brought,
yeah,
and you
to like gauge that like motivation and stuff. Yeah,
Well,
because they were
true.
also like novel
yes.
kind of
there you go.
items too. Like it wasn't because if you're going in home and you're using the tools that they have in the home, well, they have access to those.
That's a good point.
Daily or whatever. So that was also I think why they worked is because it was like novel.
It's novel.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes the same with that same concept within our clinics because, okay, so now we have all those tools here, but if we don't keep some of those like
up
or away, then it would be the same thing. They would have access to the same tools and toys all the time.
I think that's the key. Yeah. So it's the novel, the not having access to it all the time, and that's the reinforcement, of course. The motivator, but I also think just trying to, because it is kind of the same thing. It's just now in the clinic setting. So that's a really good point. And I also think back in the day, it was all M&Ms and Skittles, and there was a lot of that. So we look at, I think, I'm not saying that it's not used, but we look at a little bit differently and with more of a variety of, because of course the end goal is, intrinsically motivated is always the end goal, is that somebody's just intrinsically motivated to, do whatever it is, that, with life and skills and those kind of things. That's the end goal. And that's really how ABA, in my opinion, can get a very bad name because it gets stuck and it's not moved forward with that piece of it. But anyway, back to fun. Interesting. It's interesting how it was interesting when I was asking the mentors, like, just what is fun? And, the thing that I resonated with was, fun means letting it all go and just doing whatever it takes between you and that person, and that connection. And so then you go back to connection, and
it goes back to connection. And I have a question. Like when you have a connection with someone, you're kind of like in that moment, and you can like being present is also like a big piece of that.
Yep.
And being able to kind of like gauge that body language and like, okay, are we still having fun together or are we not? And another thing is to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, because for me it was always uncomfortable. If I was like in my bubble with like that person, I could be like really, really fun. But when other people were watching me, or people that I didn't have a connection with were a part of that, it made me very uncomfortable. And I had to live with like the uncomfortable. Like when you say like let it go, like part of being fun is kind of like letting go of that. It took a little bit of like practice to let it go. And it kind of, and that ebbs and flows depending on like the environment and like who I'm around.
That's true. And I'm sure that's how the client, the kid, the person feels as well, because that's why it's different with each person. You know, it's that connection that, yeah, I think it's so interesting, and I think that's why fun is hard. And because I do, it's an interaction, which can be defined. Like we could go into like again play, or let's talk about littles. If you think of like, or you know, toddlers, or it's more interactive and
like the physical play.
part,
Yeah.
swinging. So some of
that's what I think of anyhow.
I
like
do
with
too.
like toddlers or even up to maybe like age 4. I'm kind of thinking of like more, and sometimes past that a little bit, but more like physical play. Not too into like toys as much. It depends what you do with them. Like maybe the toys aren't exactly played with in a functional way. But like looking like a little bit imaginative. I think imaginative on my part, that's fun to them. That's kind of, I guess that's what
I think of music,
like movement,
movement, and all the things you think about what you did in school, you know, or preschool, or all the, you know, and I mean, music is fun for me at any age. I love music. It's like one of my happy places. So I think of that through any age, but especially little kids, more like dancing or doing to the music or feeling the music, and you know, that's that need of that. So I would say that's what was pretty consistent, like spinning, tickles, gross motor, you know, going to the crash pad, you know, all those different things. That was at the age group, like toddlers. Then you go into like early school age, and that looks, some of it's the same, but it does start to get a little bit different. Then you have what we teach or what boundaries and those kind of things. So that comes into play, but what's fun?
Yeah, I think that there's less like physical play sometimes, or the physical play becomes like more game. Like I kind of go back to the games. Like to me, it's more like game. Like we're doing like an I Spy thing, or we're doing like a charades. Like, and you're not really necessarily like calling it that. I'm just trying to like define like my actions, I guess, into something. But like when someone said like with their school age client that they walk down the hallway and they like find monsters or like look through things, right?
I would still like
it's
that.
Like it's like it's more like imaginative, and you don't need as like I don't know how to describe it. Like to me, it's almost like they were playing I Spy a little bit, like in a different way.
Well, you don't have it in your hand. It's not more tangible. It can be in you're like, it's a make-believe.
It gets more make-believe. Yeah.
And I think developmentally, that's where we go, you know, where schools go. So that makes sense why we're kind of categorizing it that way.
And I think with my own kids, I mean, they're around this age right now, and I think it's more game type stuff. Like they want to play like Sorry, or they want to play like Ghost in the Graveyard. Like they want to do more like that. Like it has rules or a little bit more guideline to it. Like it's still maybe imaginative, but
and I think the feedback we've heard over the years is that is easier to do because it's tangible as far as games. Like it's your name, Sorry, because there's a beginning and an end. There's a winner. It's got rules. Where physical play and other things, even imaginary play, can be very difficult because
it can be challenging.
Because if it's one-sided and you're trying to teach it or get them, you still have to start with what motivates your partner, you know, your person that you're with, and that is what can be difficult because you know, if you think about, like if I think about one of my kids, they would come to me and say, I want to do this, or they would just grab my hands and do it. And that's not always the case. We have to initiate or follow or see and then initiate, you know, or see what you still have to find that part that engages. That
You
engagement.
do. Like I remember one of my very first clients, he would watch all these like videos and songs. And so like This Is Halloween, like he would listen to like this like song like over and over, like it was like, and he would just listen to it over and over and over and over. And like that was like so exciting for him. But in order for me to be engaged in that, I had to go like march around the room and say, like, This Is Halloween. And he would like join in, you know, and then, but you have to find kind of like,
you got to find the
it might not always be so easy.
It
right?
isn't always easy. And especially if you have like a repeater of, you know, phrases or words or what have you. What I've even done, I even had a liner upper or, you know, there's all those different things. And you have to engage in that and almost become a part of that repetitive behavior. And then you slightly shape it or add something. So you add a sound or you add something physical or you just little bit. And then you wait for that little like, you know, or just something that's a reaction that, you know, again, usually it's not typically, especially when you don't have a lot of language, it's a reaction of the face or a gaze or a something. You can just tell because they want you to do it again, you know?
Yeah.
And so then you just keep kind of doing that. I think that's another way to engage and start playing and having fun and interaction is look at, again, if it's, you know, this repetitive behavior that they do over and over again, do it and start to shape it. You know, into something else.
Get involved in it.
Get involved. Like you were marching around the room to the song, and then he was like, oh. And then you made almost that part of the repetitive behavior, right? Because he did it over and over again. So then he was like, oh, did he start marching then? Yes. Yeah. So then he
left his tablet on the couch, or he got up, or he starts marching around the room, and that became like our thing. Is that's what you know we did.
And then, you know, so like what my mind goes to, this is like my favorite part of what we do is, so if you were marching around the room and then that became motivating and now you can even do another thing. So now you're not even doing that song anymore, potentially. Maybe it's just marching, but now you're marching to either another song or you're just marching and falling. So now that's funny, then falling is funny. And then, you know, you just keep going. And it's, again, that engagement, that connection, that relationship development of you guys.
Yeah.
And it's you, not the Skittle you gave.
Right.
The kid. And you might have to in the beginning. I'm not saying that that's, you know, but again, that's how I would describe fun. And fun for not just me, but fun for the person that you're with. What would you say about adults?
I mean, it definitely depends. I actually saw, because I'm part of like a lot of like Facebook groups and stuff for ABA, and like I saw someone, I wish I remembered like to give credit, right, where credit's due, but she was covered in flour, and it was because the client like wanted to throw flour on her, and because like when they like. I don't know the whole story. This was like a picture, like a snapshot. So I'm putting my interpretation into like what's happening here. But it's like these, like to throw flour on like a shirt that is like black or whatever, it adds speckles or whatever. Now they're like, oh, like I was pretty good at that. I should be a fashion designer. You know, like, it's just like these, it can be like these kind of odd things. Like you're still going, even in adulthood, you're still going with like motivation.
Yeah.
Like I have a client who wants to be me for Halloween, and that's very motivating to her. And she has my voice down.
Oh, she has shown me.
Oh yes, she has it. She's got it all down. I came in one day and I happened to be dressed similar to another client, and he was all for it. He's like, "Yeah,
I cannot wait. That's motivating
so,
for me."
There's these things, you know, and you just kind of gotta go with it.
Yeah.
And
hilarious.
And sometimes even in adulthood, we are motivated by things that may not be exactly like age appropriate, which is totally cool. Sometimes we do take those things and kind of shape those too to be something maybe like a little different. Like if we were 22 and we needed to like go to work, I might not let you hold like your trains with you while you're at work, but maybe we're taking pictures of them. And that can become like a hobby. So I have a client who collects a lot of things. And so what we're trying to do is take pictures
You're
of
going
them.
out of it again.
Oh, I'm going out.
You always do this. I should push you out. That should be our end.
I can't stop moving there. But we're trying to take pictures of his items so that we can make a scrapbook for him. So we're trying to turn it into, and I'm always looking at, hey, what can I turn this like thing that's super motivating to them also into like a career a little bit?
Yeah.
Because if we could get him taking pictures of like his collections and like making books and stuff like that, like, I don't know, I just think that might be kind of cool for him to have.
I'm sure that would bring purpose too. For him. It's like, look at it. This is purposeful for me. It's motivating. It feels good. Who wants to do a job that they don't like to do?
Yeah.
Like there's purpose in what you choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be cool. A lot of our engineers are on the spectrum. They've said they're on the spectrum. Einstein is one of, he's not an engineer, so to speak, but like because of the repetitive, the need of what he wanted to do. I can't even think of anybody right now because I just can't. But there's many. Who is it? Was Steve Jobs? I'm thinking of somebody else. There's just quite a few. There's books out there with all of the famous people, and a lot of it's like engineers or something to do with math or something. And they got into an area that made sense. Coding would probably be a very big area because it's repetitive and it's like that would drive me nuts. I didn't want to add anything. That's somebody's dream job.
Yeah, absolutely.
My son wants to be a coder. I'm like, great. That is great for you, but that's motivating is to see those repetitive numbers over and over again and figure it out and do, so it's get into that and it helps everybody, and you love it,
like video games too. I think that's a big one I see a lot is like, that's how I connect sometimes is like through video games. And I connect in a different way because I don't play video games, but I also have twins that are 12. So they, play their video games and do their sports and whatever. And so I know a little bit. So that's kind of like an in too. And that can be a career as well. And gaming also can lead to, it can lead to some bad things. It can lead to some good things as far as like social interactions go and what we share online. But I have found ways to get individuals to like, who don't typically communicate to communicate through means of like technology and games.
So over in the games because you have your headset on or whatever, right?
Yeah. And it's not like me doing it, but I'm teaching them like, hey, like, this is what you can share, and this is how you can like connect with people like through something that you already do that's like super motivating to you.
It's not so head on either. That's the other thing.
It's
like when you're in a car with somebody, they can't get out for one, but two, it's not so intense. Like you're like this because you're driving. And I've had some of my very best conversations in the car with my kids and even my husband because, like you're together, but it's not completely intense because you're not sitting like face to face and it's kind of informal. But it's a time where there's no distraction. Potentially, obviously, if you have your phone or something, there would be, but that's what gaming reminds me of. Yeah.
It's just a different way to connect with people. So it's taking like what's fun for them, and you're also able to take that and add some skills to it that they might need like later on in life. Like dating is a huge thing. And that can be super motivating to have a partner but then how do you get a partner when we're working on like the social pieces? And how does that motivate you? Because rejection is hard for anyone.
Yeah. I think that's forgotten though. is that because the need can look different, right? Display itself different as far as adults still have sexual urges. They still want love and, joy and fun, all the different things too. And I think many times, or I know that many times that's forgotten. I have somebody that I'm working with and it's totally forgotten. Like, he still has all the same needs as your other kid that's 2 years younger or older, or, there's both. And that's forgotten.
It is forgotten. And when it comes to adults and fun and like what's motivating to them, honestly, at the end of the day, it's the same.
It's the same. And that's
they want love. So how do they get there? Right. So they're motivated to like work through some things with you to get there. They're motivated for like, to be accepted and that like social, end. Now, when I say motivation for social, like you might have an individual who's like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to leave the house. But they still need connection. They still want connection. They have connection some way, either through something like video games, or I have clients that work to go on like an outing, like go to like Culver's or go to like a playground. Like we do those things. And they're not saying like it's because I want friends,
right?
But it's different. Connection, yeah. Right. But it looks different.
It looks different.
They might not outwardly say like I want friends. They might outwardly say I don't want friends and I don't care. But there's also a human.
Yeah.
There's a human need for that in some way, shape, or form.
Right. It just looks different for everybody. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I mean by display. I think that's why it can be forgotten, because it does look different.
It looks very different.
Yeah. I mean, just like relationships. All relationships look different. I mean, everybody's connection can look very different. I mean, how many times do you get, debacles?
I mean, it looks so, and it's just like, I have a client who I say, I have a joke with him and I say, hey, best friend. And he says, I'm not your best friend. But it's like that connection, like it's so small and so minute, but like sometimes I catch him standing there, like waiting for me to like acknowledge that like he's there just for him to yell at me. But that's what it is. It is different for every person, but needs are all the same.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things we will be going into next month is the universal needs with Dr. B. She will be joining us on our podcast in November. It'll be November. I think it's the 6th. I don't remember. Something like that.
Very exciting.
Yes, but it's very exciting for Nonviolent Communication and NVC. So we're really excited to have her, and that's kind of why our language has evolved over time, is because of the need factor and that they're all universal. That's that connection, love, acceptance, that everybody has that need. It's displayed differently. And she'll go into more of that. I'm really excited. If anybody has any questions that they want to know about that in Sonnenberg or on the all 30 subscribers. I hope you're all watching this.
You gotta watch it live.
Yeah. So we'll figure out how to get it scheduled. So maybe it'll let you know. But anyway, I think that's really important because I think and fun is also a universal need, actually, and joy. Both of those are universal. And that is a big one, I think, or I know for me. That's a huge one. It's probably one of my biggest ones. And I didn't realize it until we've really been working on this, how much I yearn for that. I yearn for like the fun and the joy, and like that's like in my being. And I never realized how much that is almost over everything. And so that's why I'm constantly laughing and I'm constantly looking for that in serious moments. I have to like break the ice or say something that is silly and probably inappropriate at times because I just look for that. That's like, it brings me great joy. So that's fun for me. What do you think your biggest need is in life in general? I know it's different at probably different people, different times, but do you think that you've looked at that for yourself?
I mean, my biggest like value is like curiosity. Yeah, I mean that's always been my thing.
Yeah,
because like if you live with curiosity, it never stops. It never stops
and goes, right?
And you never stop the self-reflection when you live with curiosity. And you never think that you know everything when you're planted in curiosity. Like, let me learn more about that.
Yeah.
Or like, what do you mean by that? Right? It keeps my like learning, and it keeps me open-minded. And that's something that I love about myself personally. So that's what I've always lived in.
Yeah, I like that.
Of course, I also am like a very sarcastic person, and so I do that. Fun is important to me. It's something that like if I didn't make a joke that day, then like I'm having a really awful day.
That's
really
me
bad.
too. Like I can't handle it. It's really difficult for me when things get really serious for a long time. Even if it's a good serious. There's lots of good serious, like we're learning and we're like I love that too, but then I have to break it up for a second and just yell something. Like I think of like the movies, like blah, like
Yeah. I always have to break the ice, and it's just
it's just interesting, isn't it? Because I mean that's not everybody. Not everybody's like that. There's people that are that their fun looks different. It's just me yelling something that's inappropriate. It's not somebody that would be embarrassed. I have family members that's like, oh, she's here again, because like she's gonna say something that's gonna embarrass me, and to me I just laugh. I'm like, it's hilarious, and they're like, no, that's not hilarious, that's not fun for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like my sense of humor is very unique too, because like I have like when you said family members, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like some of my family members are like either my husband, like I'm very like socially awkward actually, and like I have a lot of social like anxiety.
Yeah.
So he's constantly like, you're not funny at all, and I'm like, I am though.
See, that would make me laugh. I'd like to watch that.
Yeah, but he's like, you're not funny. I don't know why you think you're funny. And I'm like, well,
like, yes, I'm very funny.
Yeah. I'm like, come on.
It's you. You're not funny.
Yeah. I'm like, just because you don't understand my sense of humor doesn't mean.
Yeah, I like that.
But
it's fun.
Yeah, it's something like that. Fun does look different for every person. I guess like I don't feel a connection until I can laugh with somebody, because typically I am pretty like, and people don't necessarily know this about me because I present myself as very outgoing, and I speak very like my voice is very loud, and like I'm very like, I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know the other word for it. But I'm definitely I'm not outgoing.
That's so interesting.
I'm not. And so, but when I can make connections with people through laughter and through fun is when I am my complete authentic self with people.
I think that's it for me too, because it connects me.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel, because then it usually is contagious. Like that's the way I describe it in my own mind. And then that person is like, oh, and then I feel like it's like the barriers come down and relaxation comes in more, so people can be their authentic self, and then that makes it's very selfish actually. It makes me very happy because I'm like, oh, yeah. So it's more of a selfish thing, to be honest with you.
I'm selfish about my fun.
I'm like, I need to do this so you are going to be okay and have fun. So then I think that goes into acceptance, because then you've been accepted into this circle, and then you have a connection, again. So isn't it interesting? Like the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, man, like this is like we're just sitting in a psychology
Mhm.
session right now. Like that's what it is. But then it makes me think about programming and how we make it easier. So something like this that we can make it is, just putting more, okay, try this, do this. But we want to give you the tools so you can, because it is different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're with another human being. It's not just about you, which we worry about ourselves always first, almost always. Or we just worry about others and not ourselves, so then at a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be, it's and we want it to go back and forth. So that's kind of the point of this, is that relationship development and that connection, just another word for connection, is like, it's a back and forth interaction. And in order to have fun, who are you talking about? Yourself? The client? Because we used to say all the time, if you're having fun, they're having fun, and that's not always necessarily true.
That's not always necessarily true.
It can be.
I often lean into my fun first, to be honest.
I think
Good, bad, or otherwise, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm being.
But why wouldn't you? Because you still have a need. You think of your need first. It really does come down. Like, I never thought of like, Farrah, your needs really are to have fun and to be happy and joyful. Like that's a feeling, but joy, that really is, at the end of the day, when I've had a good day, I've connected, I've had fun. I come home and I'm like, that was a good day. And I'm like, why did you have a good day? Because you laughed. Other people laughed. You guys had a good time. You still got your work done. You can still, like, that's the part of me that I'm like, you can do all of that.
You can do all of that.
All of that can be there.
It doesn't need to be so serious.
It doesn't. But there's no reason you can't have fun.
None of our kids take us seriously anyway. So like, why do we have so much pressure on ourselves?
Serious, but that is so, and so what the whole point of living is to live and have joy and have fun and connect, and it's all universal. We all want the same thing. It's the strategies that are different.
Yeah.
Which is what we were kind of talking about. The strategies to have fun. Which, again, next week I'm curious to see how we can kind of go over that, like our needs, and then you have to hit your need first to get to the strategies. So we really talked a lot about, here's my need. These are the strategies that have worked for me. These are the strategies that have worked for mentors, that have worked, for different clients. So hopefully that is helpful. One thing I would love to, how are we in time?
Oh, we're good. We've had longer.
47. Well, we're having fun, so we might just keep going. But one of the cool things that I didn't think of that somebody said is, don't take anything personal. Don't take it personal. But if you try something because you think it's going to be fun, for example, and it isn't, and they scream or run away or whatever may happen, don't take it personal. That was like the number one advice that came out of a couple of people, of just don't take that. I took it very personal, and it's very, I almost didn't make it because I was like, they don't like me, they don't like me, they don't like me, they don't like me, or I suck, and there's that, So I thought that was
the story you tell yourself.
That's the story we tell ourselves. Yeah, that's your story. So I thought that was really good advice. It was funny because another PP tech sent me a message last night, and it was a little flyer that she attached. And she goes, I just thought of you when I saw this. And she said the same thing. Don't take yourself too serious. Don't take it personal. This is how you have fun. I didn't even talk to her about it, so I don't know if it was from our donuts and juice.
Oh, I don't know.
Could have been. I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because it totally aligned with what one of the mentors said, or two of the mentors said. And so I thought that was really cool. So what would you say to somebody that's new, coming in? And I said, think back to when you were. Don't take it personal. This is not easy because you're thinking of the other person's needs, the other person's motivation, and that can look very different. It is very different. Especially when you have some other barriers that you're working around. So I thought that was good. What do you think?
Easier said than done.
For sure.
is what comes to mind.
Oh,
It's something that you gotta kind of like be cautious of. Like, am I telling myself a story? Like, am I taking this personal right now? And like, if I am, great. Like, let it be there and like
keep going.
keep going.
And that's what we go back to what you said in the beginning, is being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what that is. Because you're uncomfortable. Because it's not fun for you at that moment, and you're taking it personal, or you're thinking they don't like me in the story that you're telling yourself. But another thing that I thought was really good too is I seriously don't ever want to view my job as like work and like this drags. I have to find joy and fun. They said fun in the everyday things. So if I'm not, how do I change that up for me and get back to what makes it fun? So that was interesting too, because this person has been with us for 3 years. So I thought that was cool. Let's see, what else?
I think it could be like the small things. We were kind of talking about that last night a little bit because like how I was telling you, like, oh, I took 2 minutes out of my day to sort papers because like that was more fun for me than like the alternative. But like you kind of have to take like a couple moments for yourself throughout the day and it could be something so small and like so silly. Like for me, it's like organizing something. Like, let me just organize like one thing. It could be so tiny and that could change my entire day. Like that could be my one moment. Like if my day like hasn't been so fun, or if I had to do things that I don't necessarily enjoy.
So structure, would that be one? Is that you're trying to find structure and consistency? Maybe like that's the need that you're looking for.
I think so.
I do the same thing.
I think so because like if I'm like running all over the place that day, like to sit down and to like organize something, it feels like I'm like done with something, and I've like because I've organized.
Yeah.
Like so then I literally just put pages like in order from like 1 to 200 to make a book, and then I put it over here.
I'm good for that.
And I'm like, that was great. That was so fun for me. I'm out. Like I can go on to like the next thing, and then if people can find like that for themselves. Like, you know, when you pick up like a really good pen and you're like, man, I found this really good pen. Like if you can find joy in a really good pen, like it just makes your life a little easier.
It's true.
It's true. When small things, that's what I think about.
It really is. And I think that two different people said the same thing. Do the little things for yourself. Like if you enjoy walking by because somebody at Pleasant Prairie says, you know, go back to work, you know, or something, and you're like, oh, I love that. I'm going to go just take this route because he's going to yell at me, and that makes me feel joy, you know, because it's just makes me, it's fun, you know, and so that's what I think we, again, come back to what brings that to you. So yeah. I think that's it.
That's it. We're done.
All right. So next month, November, Dr. B will be on with NBC, and I will try to kind of throw some things out there to get, you know, some information. We can do some, have Carmen help me with that, and we'll see you next month.
All right. Goodbye.